Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In this video, we're going to take a background from the Book of Background series and I'm going to create art on top of it. And this portion of the Bob and Doug project is the Doug part, which is doing our unusual genre. So this particular page is double-sided, and when I did this one, I created some extra little pieces. So I'm going to be using these instead. So I want to use this piece as one. I'm not going to be creating art on the back. I'm going to be upcycling this because I don't like the way this turned out. It was an experiment kind of gone wrong. And what I thought I would do with this is to create a full 3D mixed media piece. This video, I'm warning you, will be a little bit longer than normal only because there's so much to cover. And I haven't done one of these videos to this degree on my YouTube channel. I've done them in private classes, but not my YouTube channel. So I hope that you enjoy it. I have a whole bunch of stuff here, and just to let you know that part of the piece that's going on here, which is these little bird nests, I created those in a separate video to save time, and you can, the link is below in the description. I've got branches that I picked up on my walk. I've got burlap that I stamped. I got burlap strips, cardboard strips. Joe found these little things at Michael's. I've got music paper, buttons, so I have a whole bunch of stuff. And so not to waste time going through that, I'll show the pieces as I'm working through it. I'm going to be mounting this on an actual 8x10 canvas. This is the canvas that I, let's see, I have a sketch on here from one of my plein air walks. And this was back, I think, when we had Harley, and at the time he was getting sick, so I never bothered to finish it. So I thought I'm going to mount this on here, and I'm going to be painting this canvas so when it goes on the wall, it'll look like a shadow box, or a kind of a reverse shadow box. It'll look like it's coming away from the wall. So I'll put this aside. I'll paint that later. And what I want to do with this, because I'm upcycling this, I don't want to lose everything here, so I'm going to be putting some transparent paper on there. And this is just tissue paper. You can still see behind, and when it gets wet, it'll become even more translucent. So what I'm thinking about doing is just having it like that. And I'm not going to mind the wrinkles. And then I'll put another piece just to overlay. So I can still see some of this. I don't want to see the word fish. And I'm going to use matte medium. I'm going to turn this over, push this all out of the way. Now, one of the things I did when I put the decoupage medium, I didn't cover all this here. We're going to have so much stuff on here that it won't really matter. So I'll just leave that the way it is. And just going to put matte medium on there. And I'm working on my unstick arts and crafts sheet, so it doesn't matter if I get stuff on there. You can use that as a palette as well, which I will be doing. Okay, so I'm just going to do that part. And let's just lay that on there. Get my little bird nest out of the way. Yeah, and this piece, it'd be a full 3D mixed media piece. It is only for a wall, so this won't be for a journal. But you can make this into a journal just using flat elements on it. So see all that where the pockets of air are? Where's my... So you can use a credit card, but I prefer using a texture tool, which is more gentle. And if I actually rip the paper, that doesn't bother me either, because it's just going to add more texture, like I did there. We're going to be overlapping, overlaying. Okay. And let me just hit this with the heat gun for a sec. I'll turn that over. I don't want to waste your time while I'm using the heat gun. And we'll just flip that over. Okay. I know this stuff is this part here is kind of boring, but It's just for beginners. They'll be able to see exactly what my process is, and I do talk my way through the project. And just folding that over, that way I won't have to worry about sealing any edges. Anything that makes the job easier is all right by me. Okay. I'm going to dry this. And then I'm just going to lay another piece on top of here. And I'm going to cover the whole piece here with the matte medium. It just gives it extra protection. One thing you want to do or not want to do is if you're creating art that you're giving away for as gifts or to sell, don't cut corners. There's one thing about kind of putting stuff together in an assembly line if you're making a few pieces, but don't cut corners. So if you have a chance to make something more substantial, take advantage of it. Making sure I have that really glued down well. And then I'll take this other strip, put it right there. And for part of the gluing stuff down, I'll be using a heat gun. Let's try that again. I'll be using a glue gun to save time. Plus, when I'm working with textile stuff, or like the nests and that, I won't use wet glue. I'll just use the glue gun. Okay, I'm going to dry this, and I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to take a speck of gesso, very, very thin layer, and just put a little bit of texture back here. A lot of this stuff isn't going to show, but I want to pick up some of the wrinkles in the paper. And also, specifically right around here, I'm going to put a bit of a thicker application because we're going to be gluing a lot of stuff down here. This adds a little bit of opacity. I don't want to completely lose the background, but the parts where it said fish, I definitely didn't want that in there. And the DecoArt Media Gesso, this one here, is fairly thick. I prefer working with a thick gesso, and I can always add water to thin it down. But if you're working with a thin gesso to start off with, you can't really make it any thicker without letting some of the water evaporate, which is a hassle. Make this part nice and thick. And what this will do, it'll help stuff stick. And put it right down here. Let's get a little bit around the edges there. It also helps around the edges if I want to age the edge. Well, you need dark to show light and light to show dark, so if the edges are dark, my brown antiquing won't show up. If that's where I'm going. I'm not sure. I'll have to wait to see what the piece actually looks like. We've got the middle all done up here. Okay, I just use my number 8 bristle brush for that. Put that aside. And get my baby wipe. There is a lot of drying time involved with this, so just be patient with it. This dries very quickly. All right, so I created a mix, half and half, of using DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics, Green Gold, and Titan Buff. And then mix that up. And then what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to add about an equal part of the DecoArt Chalk Finish Medium. I want this to have a really chalky finish to it. And the end of my Aqualon brush is tapered, so it makes a perfect stir stick. Put it aside. And I'm just going to apply a layer of this. And although I'm going to be covering this, I'm going to be putting it on there anyways. This will just add a nice tint to the background. And I'll also, although, you know, the back is not going to be showing the edge, I am going to be applying a coat of this to the back edge. Because if somebody does take the canvas and turns it around, you want it to be covered. I don't like showing stuff that's unfinished in the back. I love that texture there. Really enhance that. So by using the, instead of using, like I was going to use chalk paint, but the chalk paint is very, very opaque. By using the media fluid acrylics, because the green gold especially is transparent, I still see some of the background showing through. Now I don't know how bright this is on your end, but in my monitor that I see over here, this is like a bright lime green, and it's not. Like that. And I'm going to quickly heat this just around the edges especially. I'm going to dry this. Dries very quickly, super matte finish. Just so I can handle the edges. And just paint this as well. And it'll just give it a bit more of a finished edge if the person looking at it takes it off the wall to see it, or, you know, especially if you give it away as a gift, the person is going to be handling it. And people always turn the art around to take a full look at everything. Okay, just to make sure I covered enough. So that's the border that's going to be showing, which is fine. So when somebody actually picks it up, they do this, it's actually going to be painted, and all this is going to be painted as well. All right. What I also decided to do, where the bubble is at the top, I'm going to flip it around so it'll be at the bottom, because I like this dark stuff here. All right. I've got some stuff here that I'll be putting on there. This is going to take a long time to dry. So my composition, so I've got, this is all some from my stash, this is all some fiber paper that I was doing a stamp on. This is, I think, when I was doing the how to create your own stamped tissue. I think I have one YouTube video on that. I think that's what I did in this one. Strips of burlap, which is a leftover used when I made this little guy. Joe found these little bags at Michael's. So I'm going to take out of that. And they were $1.50 for two. And this I'm going to leave whole, but this I'm going to end up cutting, because I like the different color on that. So let me just cut this. If I can rip that. There we go. There we are. Oh, I love how rough that is. All right. And I don't really care about the fold in the middle, because it's probably going to be covered up. That, like that. I'll have to decide which edge I want to show. So I'm thinking of that, and I'm thinking I want that like this. I do want to put some paper in the back. I've got some old music paper that I have here. And we know that I like torn edges, so this is just paper that's there we go. I just have to decide how I want to, and this does take a little bit of planning. I'm not going to rush through this. I like the contrast of those two. Well, Mia went into a barking frenzy, so while she was getting that out of her system and Joe telling her to be quiet, so I got some transparent red iron oxide, just put a little layer here because I found that this was a little too strong. So I put that on there and I'm liking that. So I'm going to do that. So I've got that, and before I put on any more pieces, which will change depending on the background, I'm going to get this going. Oh, what brush I'm going to use? Let's use another big brush. And adding a little bit of water to this, just to thin it down a little bit. And I was thinking about just scraping it, but with scraping, there was a chance that I was going to tear the paper. So as the stuff dries, acrylics, they get a little bit darker as the binder sets and the water evaporates. So although this is what this one looks like now, it will be a lot darker. So in saying that, I'm just going to take this just around the edges a bit, remove a bit of the top layer. There, that really sets it back. And this part here, I can do that later. Just give that a quick. So it still looks all chalky. All right, now let's put all this stuff back. Oh, that's better. That's better. All right, so let's get some of that there. I don't want that right in the middle, so I'll probably just up there. And I also wanted to use, this is the new DecoArt line of printed paper. This is Victorian Romance. And for some contrast against the bag, just a little bit. No, not sure about it being there. But I'm thinking I like it there. That's what I'm going to use, this one here. And I'm going to pick this part right here. Oh, you know what? Let me just do this. I've got a nice right here. And it gives me a nice torn edge. And I'll do the tear different on this one. And all these little bits and pieces, I'm not throwing these away. And like that one like that. So just I only need a strip of this. There. Not a lot of noise, just for a little piece of paper. All right, let's try this again now. So I've got that. Put that one there. And lay this one behind. So I'm thinking like that, like that. Where's the word journey? Here it is. That one. The burlap. Now I also have trim as well, which is a nice light color, which adds even more contrast, but I really like this bag. So I think I'm going to stick with that one. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with this one. All right, so something like that. Oops. Something like that. And I knocked everything over. I'm going to be using Alpha Tiles, the Tim Holtz ones. The actual things I'm going to put on here is called Inspire and Create. So I'll be doing that. And a little bit of corrugated cardboard. Now for the nest. So this required a little bit of planning, because as this is on the wall, I don't want to put the nest like this. I actually want to put it on an angle. So it'll be something like that. So on the wall it would look like that. So I'm using the actual camera monitor. I don't want it to be completely in the center. Composition wise, it's something that's smack dab in the middle is not appealing. There, like that. So all this stuff can stick out, that's fine. All right, and then I've got some little buttons, and I can put those there. I got one more missing. Put him on top. On the corrugated cardboard, I used an insert of a wine crate, and I just, hopefully I can do this without making a mess, and just peel the top layer. Once you get it going, it peels off really easy. See? And then I can just cut that. And I can use that in there as well, which actually might not be bad under there. Another layer of texture. What I also want to do, I don't want everything to line up. So ruler wise, so long as everything is offset, I'm going to be fine. Okay, now the other little bird nest is much smaller, but I'm liking that one. And then now I kind of figure out, where am I going to put my sentiment? I have no idea. No idea now. I may just print it out on paper and put it somewhere else. Not sure. And then the little shells and stuff like that I have. I've got seashells here. I've got seashells here I might use, and I have, I've got buttons here. Dollar store, $1.50. Michael's, I think that was $9.99. And these are mosaic shell tiles. I think these were $9.99 as well, Canadian. So, all right. So that's what I'm looking for. And I'll also enhance this once I have it assembled. I'm not going to remember how that went on there. Now what I also want to do is this background here. Now that I have something fit, what I'm going to do, and I am not going to remember, so I can take my camera and take a picture. I can also just take this and just kind of put it over here. Something like that. Okay, see, it fits quite nicely on that little canvas there. I've got stencil. This is a classic quatrefoil. This is an Americana Decor stencil, and I want to break this up, and it fits perfectly. Get that about halfway off the paper there. All right, so I like that. And I'm going to be using a little bit of modeling paste, and I'm going to put that there. Yeah, it's not bad. Start off with that first. And then I'm going to tint it. I'm going to tint it with white. No, I'm not. I'm going to tint it with Titan Buff. I don't want it to be completely white. You can paint it after the fact too. I just want it to be slightly off color. This here will take, because the actual part that's going on is going to be very thick, will take probably about an hour to dry. Now, depending on your environment, it could take less, it could take more. And right now it's really cold outside, so this might take a little bit longer. And what I'm looking at doing is only putting this in some spots. And see how I can even scrape and have some removed? That's fine. That is totally fine. I'm just looking at, breaking up some of the blank spaces, making sure that I cover at least 3 squares, but try not to make them even. So not like only 2 square or 2 circles, or just 1 circle or shape. My palette knife is a little bit small for this. This is the knife that comes in the application texture toolkit from DecoArt. And it's nice and flexible. Works great for these stencils. It's flexible, so it's not going to damage the stencils. Put a little bit on the bottom, use it up. And when you're working on the unstick, just be careful that you don't use a pointed palette knife and poke into this. Otherwise you'll cut it. It's the same with any arts and crafts sheet. There we go. Put that up. And put that aside. And now I'm going to clean this area up. All right, so while I'm waiting for the piece to dry, I gave my canvas a coat front and back with the Americana Decor Chalky Finish, and it is a colonial, and which is a nice blue. And why I chose this was I tried to get as close as I could to a color that was in the flowers, and when the piece is mounted on the wall, okay, you'll have the other background, but from the side you'll be able to see this. So that's why I chose that color. All right, so let's go get the other piece and we'll move on. All right, I'm going to be gluing the background to the canvas now. And I'm using Weld Bond for this. I'm not using the mixed media medium. I find that for what I'm doing here, the Weld Bond does really, really well. You could use a hot glue gun if you want. Epoxy, whatever you want. It's got to be something that can stand up to humidity and very strong. All right, so I'm going to get my piece here. And we'll just line it up. This stuff dries clear, so if it seeps out the sides, it doesn't really matter. Hopefully my head wasn't in the way. Now, if you want, you can also put a weight on this. You don't want to leave it to the end because you won't be able to put this kind of pressure with your mixed media stuff onto it. Here we go. And as we're creating, we're going to be putting more pressure, so that's fine. All right, so I'm going to sit down now. Now we start building. All right, I'm going to get my pieces. I'm going to get my pieces. I'm going to lay out the first part. I'm going to lay out the first part. I'm going to be using the Decoupage, the matte glue sealer finish. You can't go wrong with this stuff. And I'll use my 3/4 inch brush. Actually, let me pour some in here. All right, this stuff dries clear. Now this part here is all about the assembly, and this is where I kind of position stuff around and stuff has to dry. And this part is probably the longest part of the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started. I just realized I wanted to antique the edges of this. I'm going to get started with doing this, and as I get to the part where I know that it's going to be now just layering stuff, I may just speed up the video and put background music for you. I don't know yet. So I'm going to cover all of this with a good layer. Yeah, I wanted to vintage up that edge. And then we'll put this right here. And you can use, and you don't have to use the same pieces that I am. Just use what you have. Don't go out and buy, oh, there's a piece of string there. And I will leave that piece of string right there. You don't need to go out and buy new stuff. Just use what you have. It's stuff to make texture, stuff to make patterns, that type of stuff. Like this paper here, if I were to redo this project, I wouldn't worry about finding this particular paper. Just get some tissue paper, cut up some string, put it behind. There we go, easy peasy. This was just something I had in my stash from a previous project. All I did was take an Andy Skinner stencil, and just, I believe that's spray I was using, the Decoart, the Media Misters. All right. Okay, I'm liking that. Next. Piece of cardboard. Thinking I want the cardboard there. And yeah, this is the part where you kind of start positioning stuff around. So this is why I like using the wet glue. That way I can kind of slide stuff around. Right about there. Okay. I know I want a little piece of burlap on the bottom. Oh, piece of string there. That's going to have to be weighed down. You know what? This I should have changing my mind. I'll have to use something else. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to use a hot glue gun for that part. This is going to take way too long to dry if I use decoupage medium. So I'm going to fire up my glue gun, freshly charged battery, turn that on, and when I set it to while it's heating, I put a paper towel underneath it because sometimes the glue tends to drip. So we'll put that aside. Okay, now while that's drying, I want to show you a couple of things I prepared in advance. I'm missing a bottle of glue. There it is. I need a bigger table. All right, so when I say prepared in advance, I took some little burlap and I stamped them, and this is just random stamps. I just have a vintage clock stamp and a ticket, and then I used this mixed media stamp pad. It's Memento. It's the same brand that makes the StazOn, and I just applied it really heavy, used a lot of pressure, stamped it, and then I heat set it. Next time, what I will do though, I will stencil it with black acrylic paint instead. The impression isn't as dark as I wanted to get, and I had to heat set this to make it permanent. Okay, I'll put that aside. And these things I'm going to tuck in like that, and then I also pulled out the burlap on the side there. And let me just, I've got all my stuff on the side here. So let's, making sure that all the edges, now I'm going to pull some pieces here because I want that kind of like that shaved edge. And that brush I better put in water. So just peel that off. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do this part. I do. And on the bottom, makes it more interesting. Okay, takes care of that. And then this as well. This is why I didn't care about it being torn or cut. These little burlap bags are so cute. And I could have used the regular burlap for this, but I wanted to see what I could do with this. And the little birdie bag, you're going to love what I'm doing with that, because I wanted to, the sentiment I had put, the quote, I should say the motivational quote, didn't fit on the piece. So I'm doing something different. I always say I'm doing something different. There we go. Love that rough look. Okay. I think I made that. Not sure. I've got my paper. This is to break up the texture. Want that higher. Not sure about that one now, but we'll see. These are all going to be stuck down. I'll go over these in a second. Let's see. Yeah, sure, I can put that down now. Take the string out. So I'm just doing my somewhat of a dry fit. And then the branch, make sure, because this is now where things have to kind of fit into place. This all goes in at the end. I'll have to cut that branch. I can paint the branch too if I want. That's looking good. And then this will be in the corner. See, now that changed. That changed. This whole piece was basically a stop. Because I've got something coming off the canvas, I want to stop the eye. So it'll be like that. And I'll have to put something in there. Okay, so just to show you, what I was doing, oh God, I hope I don't drop this. So I'm looking at something like that. So putting the little things and then covering up the word for you and putting something like that. So that's what I'm looking at, but I also want to darken the bag a bit. All right, so I'm pretty okay with that. Pretty okay with this. But I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure about this one. Oh, I like that. I like that. Now this is where the video gets a little bit long because I start moving stuff around. Okay, that I'm liking. All right. You're stuck on there? All right, let's get started. And I want to break up that hole there. And to ticket, offset that. Just got an idea. But that's going to be too dark though. I was thinking about coloring the background to that ticket, but no. You don't need a lot of this. I may come back in with a brush and just kind of color the frayed edges. And what else was there? Was this one here? Because the bag, let me take the other bag, this replacement. The other bag I want it to be right about here. But again, I don't want it to be perfect. So I can overlap it a little bit like this, or bring this more here, that. I didn't put the ticket around over enough, so look what I can do. Because this is wet media, I can bring it over. I cover this, doesn't matter. Actually, that it looks even better. Now I have the 3 pieces there. Okay, nothing's lined up perfectly. That goes over the music paper. Come down here. Make sure, because the words are going to be on there. So I'll have to make sure that this is just where I can see. That's interesting. If I put this straight and then put this on an angle, that works too. As long as everything, we have different edges here. Okay, that I like. Will I remember? Probably not. And there's mixed reactions of using a glue gun. Some people like it, some people don't. If you don't want to use it, then don't. I like using it when it comes to fabric and stuff. And especially with floral. And I don't know if you guys can hear the wind. It's unbelievably loud out there. Okay. That right there. Let me dry this. I also know now that when I create some smaller pieces, I'm going to get a smaller glue gun. The Ryobi one that Jill got for me. Love it. But for smaller pieces, it's a little, the glue strands are a little large. And I love that I can use the tapered part of my Aqualon brush to push the burlap down. And I am going to come back with brown paint and edge that. Okay, so let's see. We're making progress. And that was going to be like that. Do I need to put anything down first? No. So what I'm going to do, actually I might as well just work on this one. I was thinking about darkening this up a little bit, but I'm not sure what color. If I used, there we go. If I just use Distress ink, and this is just tea dye, and I just want to darken it a bit. This is the fastest way of doing it. This is the fastest way of doing it. Just using a little sponge. You can use paint. If you had to pick a color, I would say probably burnt sienna, but I want it really transparent. Transparent red iron oxide is going to be too deep, but you can take transparent red iron oxide with yellow iron oxide. You can use that. As long as it looks old and worn. And with this particular thing, you can put something inside. So I'm thinking dried flowers. You can make it seasonal. So for Christmas, you can put Christmas flowers, because when I'm gluing the bag down, I'm leaving this part open. So you can put something in here. I want this even darker. And just by really being rough with it, it's not going to be perfect. I'm so over that stage of my life where my art has to be perfect. It's about creating, not making my art look like somebody else's. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by other people's art. But I went through the longest time of wanting my art to look like my mentor, Buck Paulson. He's got a completely unique spirit and energy to his art. And there's no way I was going to be able to copy that style. All right. So make everything your own. You can copy. I don't care if you copy this, copy my design and that, but make sure you put your own spirit into this. You know, put your own materials and your own feeling. I love birds, so I'm going to use birds. You want to use butterflies? Use butterflies. Okay, so let's get this back here again. Oh, just broke a branch. I broke a key support branch. Uh-oh. So I'm thinking, yeah, that's actually looking pretty good there. And actually, I should have put a piece of paper inside here so the glue doesn't go through. Oh, if it does, oh well. Not going to worry about it. Did it go through? Nope. Want that there. Want that there. All right. So now let's glue these little guys down. Whoopsie, that's not right. Making them uneven. Oh, I hope this fits. Shoot. Uh-oh. I hope that fits. It's because I had a letter missing on the other one. Damn. Did I just swear? To young people watching, I apologize. I'm just going to run this over here. It'll just remelt the glue. Not going to edit that out of the video either. Well, if you're watching it, you know I didn't edit it out. Edit it out. Inspire. And I'm not going to have it go like a jumping box. Not a jumping box, like a up and down, up and down. So I'll have some that are even. Ooh. Let's run this off. Right there. What if I don't want to burn myself? There we go. How's that? Save. So when doing the dry fit, just make sure that you have all your letters in place. Now what I'm going to do with tweezers. This way. There we go. There we are. Still opens up. Nice and sturdy. So because they're not glued down all together, the bag can open and they're flexible. If it was a solid piece of cardboard or something, this would have a little bit more trouble opening up. Okay, so I'm going to do that one after. Dry fitting is so important. There we go. This E is a little bit big. Probably should have changed it, but yeah. This I'm going to do a little bit of peeling as well. Okay, so I'm looking something like that, but I want to peel some of these strands off. And the word and, I made it much smaller so it didn't stick out. Now you can see a little bit of the black underneath. Does that matter? I don't know, does it? Does it matter? Does it matter? To me it does. Oops, that's not it. You know what I just did? I cut the piece that's going underneath. Oh, you idiot. You idiot. I was wondering why that piece was just perfect. Okay, I'll have to cut another piece of burlap. I'm not going to edit that out either. There, that's better. Okay. So let's just pull a little bit of this off. And I just want to cover that. Okay, I'm going to glue this down first because I may have another idea if the letters are too tight. Okay, that's going to end up going there, and I still could overlap another little piece to make it really stick out. That is actually kind of cool. So happy accident. Happy accident. Oh, I hear Mia. She's gonna start barking. Yeah, look at that. That's so much better. That's so much better. There we go. Look at that. All right. Okay. And uh-oh. You know what that means? It's feeding time. She sees the branch. Oh no. All right. So I'm looking at that. So I got to glue. So I'm thinking now I'm going to hit. So now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that this is actually glued down to the branch the way it's actually going to sit. And if you have a helper, you might want to get them if you're doing this. Oh, I couldn't get that to be more perfect. All right, so I'm going to let this dry. And I'm just going to have to hold this in place a little bit, and then we'll start finishing it off. All right, so that's, I did a little bit more dry fitting, so I've got that there. I cut the branch, I just used pliers, that part there. I need to glue this part down where it's touching. This is just going to add extra reinforcement. I think that's the only part. Oh, no, there's a part here. And I'm going to use the camera. So this branch here, I don't want it to cut into a letter, so I'm going to use the camera to do that. I was thinking even I could do this. That might actually not work out too bad either. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got it now. I'm just gonna have it go, whoopsie, it turned like that. So wherever there's a, oh, and I found another piece of burlap that I want to stick down. Where else is this touching? Where else is that touching? Oh, the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna wait for that to set, then I'm gonna glue the bottom. Chaos is here because she's hungry. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Meow. The battery on this should be running out pretty soon. I also brought in some little flowers I may add in. Okay, underneath the leaves. Okay, that's good. I already broke part of the branch. So I'm going to snip this part off because it's affecting how it's. There we go. That's better. What? Okay. That's stuck on really well. Wow. All right. And this is to break up the corner. Now the glass is transparent, so I'm going to put this. You can also use epoxy if you want. Just get that right. Do I even need the extra one? What was on there? A button? Oh, I don't remember what was on there. Yeah, it was the button. Okay. Which button? No, it was this one. Like that. And let's put the little one. Just touching. Overlapping those two pieces. So I tied in the blue from there, and I've got some other pieces of glass in here too. That's too thick. What I want is I'll create a little bridge here just for extra stability. I actually like it like that. One on the bottom. on both sides. That's stuck right there. And tie in the green of the paper. And we'll let me right there. Hot tamale. Yeah, epoxy would be very good with this as well, but I've already used a hot glue for glass and it works just fine. I can break that up a little seashell there, or I can bring the seashell underneath. Do I need to support this anywhere else? That's actually really good. All right, I want to bring in some little flowers. I've got about 4 minutes left before I have to take puppy dog out. So I'm going to build that up. So I just took some of the same little flower stalks from that batch that I bought, the flowers when I was making the bird nest. These are a little bit bigger. So I'll get those set in place. And I don't like that. I don't like that. Not a fan of the plastic centers, but these are hidden. The right spot. I think I glued the wrong one down. Oh, how about a blue one? Well, the blue one's nice, makes it look like a branch. Okay. And I want to build up a little cluster right here. Tie the flowers in. Let's put a white one. I got a little stone in that one. And there we go. Voila. How beautiful is that? Here we go. How beautiful is that? I decided not to color the edges. And now this is ready to hang up, because you just have to hang it up here. And I made sure as long as this stands on the table, that's fine. You know, these don't touch. But there we go. It's all set. And I'm going to let this sit for about an hour. Then I'll come in and I'll just put a little bit more drops of glue, pull all the little glue pieces out, just make sure everything's strong. And it's finished. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. Give it a shot. Use things that you have in-house. Don't go out and buy a whole bunch of new stuff. I mean, the letters, you can stamp them onto paper and cut them out. So I really would like to see what you've done with this. And I am so looking forward to seeing pictures. Please share them with me either on my private Facebook group or email them to me. Links to both of those are at artplace.ca. Again, like the video, subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.